Hey everybody. We're back for another patch review. Today we'll be going over the patch that was released on May the 12th of 2019. And Gary, it looks like this patch was pretty big. Gary?
Ooh, you're cutting out just a bit there, but can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. You're good.
I don't know about that. That was weird. You were just like cutting in and out.
Oh,
You said something about the patch being something.
yeah, the patch was released on May the 12th and it's pretty big.
It is quite big. It is quite big. I guess it's I copy pasted into Word. It is 6,000 plus words long. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, I seem to recall Kenshin saying something about that right before he posted it up onto the site. So let's go over this point by point and see if it's a decent patch or not. As you know, I've had my share of skepticism with the new staff, but hopefully this patch proves me wrong. They also released two hot fixes or two smaller changes after the patch itself, so we'll take those into account as we get to them.
You say small, but a few of those are pretty big changes. So, but
Yeah, I guess.
carry on, carry on.
So let's start with substats. Now, this is a big one for sure. Substats are, in my opinion at least, the sort of spice of a build. What gives it its focus? What gives it its variety, right? Um,
They're what's make you strong. So it's something else. Let's see what they did here. Spoiler substat.
so they
This is the first time.
define. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the first time I'm reading this actually. So
Oh, wow. So basically, what they do is they quantify and they define the different substats on the site, and several people, the esteemed Yusei included, have said this is kind of a mistake because anything that's excluded from this list is automatically not a substat and not subject to those rules, and in certain cases, like damage reduction, reaction time, AP drain. I'd say this is true, but like you'll know that they don't include things like taijutsu health, which Kaguya needs, or
hmm.
genjutsu speed, which I don't know. We had an argument over this in the chat, and
I saw that. I saw that.
yeah,
I think it's like a minor like point, but I'm sure they'll fix it eventually if it comes up.
yeah.
Um, to be honest, I don't think like Genjutsu speed shouldn't be a thing. But we won't get into that. But yeah, Taijutsu health could be definitely a thing. I think there's a few more you could add here. I think what they should do is add like a caveat, say like staff will judge the stat you present and decide if it's a substat or not.
Right.
I would assume that's what they're going to do anyway. I would hope. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The big one here is that items don't give main stats and substats anymore.
Yeah. So they moved all of the power into clans and bloodlines, which I think is interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
Oh, you don't know yet.
Um, I,
I
I, I, I feel like it's incentivizes bloodline hunting, which I don't like.
Oh,
Um,
so we're
I,
opposed then.
yeah.
I see.
I don't think I don't think you should have to hunt someone down and kill them to become more powerful.
Well, to be fair,
Uh,
you don't have to kill someone to get a bloodline transplant.
that's true, but I think like 9 times out of 10, you're probably killing the person.
Well, I mean, let's look at the past few years, right? How many bloodline transplants have come from someone like sharing the material they have, as opposed to someone killing someone else for their bloodline specifically?
I
Um,
mean, it's got to come from somewhere, right? You know.
that's true. That's true.
um,
Well,
and then clanless, they're clanless, man.
oh yeah, clanless
That's
is like,
fucking top tier.
yeah,
They're
for sure.
A1 top tier right now. Let me tell you, you can get 150 base stats. That's ridiculous.
To be fair, anyone can get 150 base stats if they try hard enough, but Clanless does
True,
it
true, but
really
it's
fast
like
and
a
really
free.
easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's craziness.
And there's also the fact
I
that they're unlike like any other clan, their kit is completely customizable.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm really digging the clanless stuff right now. They can get transplants. They get the 125. They can train up to 125 in each field. It's just strong, man.
Is there any case where you build 125 in 2 stats, or is that just a pipe dream?
I mean, I guess you could probably do 125 speed, 125 chakra or something. But beyond that, I don't see any other reason to do it. I don't know if that I don't know if that'd be a great build, but it's definitely a thing you could do.
Right. Um. No. Let's see.
Still,
The So you can get 50 stats from total bloodlines. You can also get 50 total
yes.
substats from bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, the first thing people think of now is 50 chakra and 50 ninjutsu power, but that may not be the power build as we see later on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of bloodline hunting, bloodline sharing, all that kind of thing. So I absolutely love this change. I just wish they added things like, where are the puppetry substats, for instance? We don't have any.
Puppetry. No one uses puppetry, Kozai. Everyone hates them.
Doubt.
Max, eat your heart out. One of the interesting things, I think I was talking to Kenshin about this. Apparently, they designed this with the idea in mind that if you specialize in one thing and just one thing, you can hit 300 power, 300 speed, which I think is an interesting game design choice.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
I
There might
know
be.
I know for a fact you can hit 300 power and speed with taijutsu, but I think you can only hit 300 power or speed with a chakra based spec. However,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
I haven't crunched the numbers on any of these, but that's just what Kenshin told me. I think it's an interesting philosophy on it.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works. Honestly, I as a whole, I'm a fan of the substat changes. Sure, I don't like bloodline hunting, but that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah. I've never really been a huge advocate for having stats on items,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't actively oppose them, but they weren't really that good of a thing for the site. So I'm kind of glad they're gone.
Yeah. I have so much Rio after that. Like, it's ridiculous. Rio. I think it's Rio. But I got so many refunds on that. Freaking rich. What can I say? But yeah. So substats, yay, nay, good, bad.
I think this is a good change.
I think it's a decent change.
All right, then we are of one accord. On to the next point, which is the revamps of canon and bloodlines. This is a change that's been ongoing for a while. It would take someone joining an obscure clan to not notice this. But recently, we have Hozuki, Jugo, Earth Grudge Fear, Uzumaki, Senju, Yuki, and now I believe even Uchiha has been modernized to this new format of picking.
It has,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about. The Uchiha specifically, we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's right here. Never mind. I think in the last podcast that didn't work out super great, we talked at length about these changes. I think one of the things we talked about was the Hozuki and Uzumaki A rank and below halving the AP costs is maybe being a bit degenerate.
Does
but
Uzumaki do that?
I feel like it did, or does it? At
No,
one
it
point it
doesn't.
did. At one point it did.
During the previous format of Bloodlines, but in the new one, it's just 10 AP per post.
I'm an old man. What can I say? Yeah. But Hozuki, I'm not a fan of that being a thing. I think that's kind of a bit sketchy. But beyond that, they're great modernizations. They make the clans actually usable and gives each clan a little bit of flexibility because there are different substats that are boosted. There are different main stats that can be boosted. So like Uchiha isn't like a speed, and you can now you can do chakra with Uchiha now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it gives each clan a little more wiggle room in builds.
Yeah. I think one of the dissenting voices against this change was like, what if I want to do a specific build and that build doesn't fit my current clan?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
to that, I mean, I kind of I don't put a lot of stock into that argument because if you don't like the clan that you want for the build that you want, just pick a different clan, right? But I don't
To
know.
be fair, I think a lot of people who say that don't exactly plan their builds ahead of time. They kind of fall into the build. They be like, all of a sudden, oh wait, I really want to do this taijutsu character, but then you play the character a bit, and you're like, wow, taijutsu is not super great, which it is super great now, but but you'd be like, I actually want to do this chakra build, and now I'm playing like Hiyu or something like that, and you're kind of up a creek. I think just when you're making a character, kind of plan your build out ahead of time. Have some foresight, guys.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always clan lists. You can't make up your mind. But I'm talking like from like a narrative perspective, right? Like
Hmm.
everyone
Hmm.
wants to role play like the hipster Uchiha who runs puppetry or something.
The ultimate edge lord. All right.
um,
I suppose we should talk about the Uchiha because they had quite a large change here.
oh
Um,
yeah. So if we scroll all
well,
the way down,
yeah,
you'll
because I think it's
find
attached to this
yeah
bloodline revamp here.
there's the change to the Mangekyo Sharingan word count,
Yes.
and
So,
it's better now in my opinion. Before it was my suggestion, which was 16,000 words and four topics, and that was
okay. The caveat to this: 16,000 words in one topic.
yeah in
I'm
one
pretty sure it
topic,
was.
and then four topics like four topics of setup
Of
before
like
that.
bonding. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I had to
um,
fight really hard for that change back when I was staff. Like people back then were solid. Like, no, it has to be a player character death, otherwise it's not meaningful. And I'm like, is it no? But now it's
who
just eight
knows? Who
thousand,
knows?
standardized words because people realized that MS wasn't really that strong.
Yeah, and I think honestly, just it's the way the site's moving. Things are starting to loosen up quite a bit, which I think is actually kind of nice. Not having one super overriding voice controlling everything. It
Oh,
allows it to develop in a more fluid way.
absolutely, I agree with that. I believe they removed the Gen auto detection from the Sharingan entirely, which means that people who want Gen auto detection will have to get it from somewhere else.
I think there's, I think it's in the hotfix. Hold on a second. Scroll down here.
I believe it's
They,
just the
they,
anti Genjutsu, but not the auto detection.
clarity ability removed and instead incorporated to enhance vision aspect.
It can be argued that they can see their own chakra flow and as a result detect they're under a Genjutsu, but like, you know,
I would argue that. I would
yeah.
argue that
But
personally, but I'm
even then, there are ways to get around it, right? Like Tsukuyomi,
yeah, yeah.
like and anything that affects their vision can just kind of screw this over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was intended, but I guess we'll find out. um,
uh, all right.
I guess it's sort of a rebalance to Sharingan, isn't it? Because they had a lot of stuff before, one way or the other.
They had a lot. They were pretty overloaded there for a
Yeah,
while.
and if you
Um,
also notice, they moved their beast summon thing over to the actual Genjutsu Sharingan tech itself.
I did not see that actually. It's pretty cool.
Yes, it's on there.
Huh. Go figure.
And then there's the change to EMS.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see if I can find it here.
it's down. It's all at the bottom in the hotfix.
Oh, it's in the hotfix. Okay. Fix EMS change. New set of
Now,
eyes.
before it was you had the opportunity to learn all of the MS techniques that your partner had, right? All three
Yeah,
of them,
yeah.
but they weren't slawless and they weren't free, which people thought they were and they weren't. Uh,
Correct, correct.
Here, it is cheaper and it is not slawless, but it does not appear to take an eye slot, which I think this is a good toning down to that ability while still keeping some of the original flavor.
I agree. That being said, honestly, I know we haven't had too many EMS characters, but they don't often take the techniques of other characters onto their own character sheet, so I don't think it's that
Right.
important.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless they're doing something like
Uh,
stupid, like Sando or something.
I'm sure this opens up some really interesting build paths, but other than my own, I haven't tried anything quite yet.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, let's hit the next point on the list, which
Oh,
is, huh?
do you want to talk about the bloodline? Like you can get the active bloodline stuff with the 50 substats, 1 AP
Oh
for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
We probably
Uchiha
want
gets
because
that.
that's
Do you
yeah,
like
Uchiha
that?
gets that. I think that's a
I absolutely love it. It's a very
um
significant
I,
AP expenditure.
it's very significant. It gives once again versatility to a character about what they're building. Um, I I assume that active overrides passive. Yeah.
I these it says right there these active boosts do stack with passive boosts, but the total amount of substats one can gain from all bloodlines is 50.
So that yeah, that would mean that if you wanted to put 50 into like if say you were I don't know you had like 50 I don't know chakra you had 50 jutsu power or something and you use this active for 50 jutsu speed. Does the active supersede the passive?
Um, I think it might just stack, but not all the way. So like, if you have 25 passive, you can only get 25 active, which for Uchiha I find to be redundant because you can only choose the substat that
Yeah, yeah.
yeah that's
That, you could use clarification.
yeah that's maybe that's like the biggest issue I had with Uchiha change is that you can only choose one of those two substats and
Mm-hmm.
you can't boost it by 75 because you're already boosting it by 25. Although, come
So
to
you
think of it,
so what you should do is be clanless and then get an Uchiha transplant.
eh, let's take a look at the Sharingan app again. Under EMS, let's see. Um, okay, so one of them you can increase, it's capped at 25. Oh, wait. This method of boosting does surpass the usual total of 50 substats from a bloodline.
Wait, that's really strong.
As it
Hold up a sec.
Well, no, not really. If you read back, it does say that there is a method to bypass the 50 total substats, and that's by using like an active booster to boost it by 25.
Hold on,
And
that's
an
substat.
EMS does not bypass that total 75.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Hmm.
that's cool. What's interesting is that this I just thought about it, right? And while this
Mm-hmm.
may seem kind of redundant to have a plus 75 on top of the 25 and you're still capped at 75, right? But what this does is it
Mm-hmm.
gives you 25 of a sort of a cushion against debuffs to that substat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Which
it's a little redundant, but it can still be useful, I guess.
it's it's still a very solid rework
Yeah,
nonetheless. I'd say.
people are going to try and debuff your genjutsu that you cast on them, and this is a good countermeasure to that.
Mm-hmm. I think also here they do transplanted bloodline changes as well. I think this is an indication that they are indeed kind of staff that is trying to push bloodline hunting or bloodline acquisition because they've made it 2,000 per coin flip as opposed to something like doubles or
I
something.
mean, I think this is more of a quality of life change because 5,000 is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
onerous.
Still,
That's
still.
just bad. Uh, okay, so archery. So last time, I guess we'll briefly mention the redacted patch. They released
Hmm.
a patch for archery, and in my opinion, it was awful. Some
Hmm.
people thought differently, but this new archery I think is fantastic.
Let me take a
Maybe
look
for a
here.
different reason than you do, but
Draw
I think it's really good.
strength. Push and draw 50. Ba-ba-ba. That seems pretty good.
So
25 meters, short
do you
bows,
see what's wrong here?
drawstrings. No, enlighten me.
Okay, so if you go up and you note that
Oh, it's
oh
not a it's not a substat.
well not just that, but I think this actually might have been patched out. Let me go down and see the hotfix. Oh, never mind. This is not a complaint. Well, I mean, archery is still overpowered, but basically
Mm,
before the hotfix that was released on May the 16th, uh, weapons could not buff their own stats, which
mm-hmm.
whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, wow.
However, weapons couldn't buff their own sharpness and durability.
Uh-huh.
Bows don't have sharpness; they have draw weight. So before that hotfix, draw weight wasn't under that cap, so bows could enhance themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I could just go to like 300 and be like,
Right, right. And now,
just straight insta
and
gib.
the cool thing is, with the sole exception of having the strength to lift the bow in the first place, you can
Mm-hmm.
hit 300 speed bows without having to have super high stats yourself. And I think this is so cool.
The shooting exams will be really annoying to watch. People just like blitzing with their
Oh
arrows.
yeah, like weaponry specs. Oh man, this is pretty
Yeah, you're
fantastic.
you're gonna flex on people if you have weaponry and you're a
Yeah.
genin.
Now, if you have like if you design your bow poorly, like you don't give it self loading or you don't give it chakra ammunition or something like that, then it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be as good. But as long as you can continuously fire every round, you're going to be fine. This
Oh yeah,
is
100%.
doesn't require AP unless you have chakra
Unless you're, yeah,
ammunition,
yeah,
but
yeah.
even then
Which
it'll probably
you
be minor.
probably want to have, honestly.
Yeah, but at base doesn't require AP, doesn't require stats that are high in any respect, and you can hit end game stats. This is really cool.
It's questionably strong. Um, but it's a good change because our archery system before was complete shit. So bravo.
Yeah. So there we go. Another aspect of the site that is now actually playable. So that's all good for me. Let me see. Before I move on, let me double check to see whether there are any more hotfixes to stuff I didn't notice. Okay, so Genjutsu. Something we've been waiting for years. What do you think about this change?
um, Obviously, I think it's better than what we've had before, where Genjutsu is either really, really strong or really, really weak. Like it kind of rides a middle ground. I can see, like I've already seen people trying to abuse, all right, not abuse, kind of use the system. Like I think Ren has this thing where he like averages like his AP, like his it's a skill where his AP per for activation
Right.
adds like he adds half of
Yeah,
his
yeah.
upkeep to his activation or something.
Right, I saw that.
Uh, I don't know. Um, I think it's a solid change from what we had anyway.
Right. Um, well, first off, any genjutsu can now be broken. So
Yes.
the draw to this, first off, is having something that dodges genjutsu release if you are a genjutsu main.
Hmm.
Things like Tsukuyomi, things like anything that Yen does, so on and so forth. I'm serious. Yen's apps are complicated, wordy, and kind of messy, right? But they have some good ideas in them.
Rare praise from Kozai, everyone.
um, So let's see. So Genjutsu is now AP Drain, the spec, and you know me, I'm really excited about that.
You have a hard on for AP Dre for some reason, man. I swear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it worked, and that's why I like it.
It
uh,
does, but it's not interactive. You know, that's probably why you like it.
I mean, uh, the way I did it last time required physical contact, right? This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hit scaling.
This is,
You cast the jutsu, and as long as they get the sensory contact, they're caught in the genjutsu, and you're draining their AP. Now the math of
hmm
the AP is on the first post, on activation. You put them in the genjutsu, and then every post it drains half of your genjutsu's cost. So
hmm
any skill that you make that enhances your genjutsu, but also has a drawback of making your genjutsu more expensive to cast, is actually kind of an indirect buff to those genjutsu that you cast. If that makes any
Correct,
sense,
correct.
right? Any jutsu that your opponents cast that makes your jutsu more expensive to cast is actually only making your genjutsu stronger.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of cool. Um, and to break out of it, they have to pay the difference between their chakra and your genjutsu power. Now, chakra can reach, pretty high, right? Like 150 at
Uh,
base,
at
200.
base, that could be 150 base,
Yeah, and then
220 something, I
yeah,
guess.
230 if they have the
230.
if they have the
That's sage mode.
yeah, sage mode. Um,
Hmm.
Now Genjutsu power can hit. Well, let's see.
300. I
Yeah,
would I would think 300. Yeah.
yeah, 300. Now that's only if you dedicate like all your
Yeah. Yeah.
stats to
All of your
Genjutsu.
substats and
Although, come
everything,
to
and
think of it, if you're running if you're maining Genjutsu, why wouldn't you, right? So,
of course, of
100,
course.
150 to chakra, and then 220 for the booster, plus
Hmm.
75 total substats.
So just stack
Yeah,
stamina and to
that's
just like wear your person down.
yeah,
It's
not quite 300. It's 295, but close enough.
hmm.
Um, so if the highest chakra they can reach is 235, 225, we'll just say, and they have even a Jinchuriki, which gives them plus
Hmm.
20, right? They're still going to be
Yeah.
paying the price to get out of it.
I think Jinchuriki, they can like combine their chakra with their
Uh,
beast. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the
right.
change.
Have you read the
But
new skill?
I have not read the new skill.
Okay. So the new skill is basically they get plus 20, and then
They just get a flat plus 20 to
yeah,
Genjutsu resistance,
flat plus
or
20 to Genjutsu resist, and then if
uh
they
huh.
and then they get Genjutsu auto detection, right? And then if their total
Okay,
Gen resist
okay,
is higher than the Genjutsu power, they can break out automatically and ignore any special requirements that would block them from using Genjutsu release.
gotcha. Which
Right.
isn't necessarily an issue here now.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think Genjutsu is a lot more balanced now because they have restrictions here versus paralysis and incapacitation Genjutsu.
Oh yeah, that's a huge thing. Just because before you could just pair
Yeah.
and they would be. Oh, I wonder. Will this affect temporary paralysis? Like I know it's not a Genjutsu, but it's like the same mechanic, right?
Right. Well, considering what's happened in character so far, it may very soon.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's that it doesn't seem like a ninjutsu to me. I feel like it should just be a genjutsu to start with.
And
Um, it just seems weird. I don't know why it would not be.
right.
Um, but I think that this is a good thing. If you paralyze someone else like from a distance, like, if not like beating up on that you're paralyzed yourself, just so you can't necessarily. Obviously, that there are ways around. You can have clones. You can launch an attack prior to using your genjutsu. Have your genjutsu like embedded in an attack. All sorts of things. But I think it's a solid change there.
Right. And the what's interesting is that sleep effects on Genjutsu cannot affect a target immediately, and instead the target must be under the Genjutsu for, and I quote, several posts. It's a little disturbing that this isn't quantified exactly. Like at minimum, it's going to be three, but
Yeah, yeah.
things like permanent comas under Tsukiyomi, for example, require like 6 posts.
Which
Uh,
which is fair, I think.
yeah, I guess.
The two very different things. Um, I think it's a solid change to Genjutsu. It makes it healthy.
Yeah,
Makes it. I'm interested to see if people start using Genjutsu more as like kind of a support specialty almost.
I know
Because
I
I feel
am.
like I feel like it could be a very strong, just like a support specialty, or I guess it could be strong if you main it too. But I think its power might be to like aid other specialties. But that's just my like hot take on it.
Oh yeah, like locking down an opponent while your buddies go take him out. Like this is great.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to move if you have allies.
True. Living clones, man, they're coming back. Your
uh,
NPCs, your NPCs are actually useful.
uh, okay, so puppetry had some weird changes. I didn't like these. To me, it feels like they kind of took away too much.
I honestly, the puppetry is.
So,
I used a puppetry character once, and I was
uh
like, I don't care about this any of this stuff. I hardly use the puppets.
okay,
Um,
so I'll summarize quickly then.
yeah.
They gave them a bunch of restrictions and a bunch of costs, and they decreased the number of mechanisms they can have. And I feel
Hmm.
like again, you mentioned incremental change, right?
Hmm. I guess that was last podcast that
Yeah, I feel like this should
the
have
missing podcast.
right. I feel like this should have been done more gradually, right? Like the staff's excuse is that they had Max do it, and Max is the site's big puppetry user, right? But
I
I
think he's like the
think
only puppetry
yeah,
user.
and he insists that puppetry is still viable, but there's a difference between viable and competitive. Like
Hmm.
if it can't keep up with all the other specs, nobody's gonna run it. It's not going to be like no one who runs it is going to have fun fighting other people with it.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, add doubt.
We'll see. We'll see.
Human
Yeah, yeah.
the part that I also find bad is that human puppets count towards this cap. So stuff that you like, stuff you work for, player kills, they
Hmm.
count towards the cap, which is kind of lame. The only thing it
The
doesn't
cap of your
of
mechanisms or your puppets or what?
of the puppets that you can have, I believe.
Hold on. Let me read this really quick.
Wait, did they remove that?
Puppets.
I think they might have changed it. No, puppets do count against jutsu slots. There it is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, I mean, unless you're a high rank, then I guess it's not a problem. But the one
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that doesn't count against your jutsu slots is if you turn yourself into a human puppet.
Hmm.
So that's basically, I mean, I guess it's kind of free, but it has certain consequences. Like you have to take medical to get human puppetry, right? And then if you turn yourself into a
Hmm.
human puppet, you can't heal yourself. You have to repair yourself, and that's a whole other process.
Yeah. Yeah. Human puppetry has always been a little strange to me, I guess.
Right. Now, in my opinion, and keep in mind that my opinion is extremely biased because I made it, human puppetry is good.
Fair. Fair.
But I don't know. I don't think anybody's actually done much with it since maybe early V6. And,
No one's touched puppetry in
yeah.
basically ever.
Um, I mean, considering that, you know, I can say how many nerfs it has here. I doubt people will continue to touch puppetry, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. You have. I do like that they kind of standardize the actions. That being said, I don't know if health sharpness.
Now this is Max's
Oh,
opportunity to
sec.
prove us wrong and make fools out of us.
Stamina drained. Mechanisms, puppets have chocolate cannon. Uh, but like, so can you use like chakra power attacks with a puppet, or are you just stuck at S rank base or no?
Um, it doesn't say, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming I'm assuming this works like the weaponry abilities that are right below it because they were made at the same time with similar
Okay.
formats. So
Gotcha.
the
Gotcha.
assumption is that it's stuck at S rank base. However, rules as written, you can try and make it at chakra power, but I doubt it'll get approved.
Well, then that makes puppetry even worse. Like it can be All right, never mind.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to
I
see
will.
how
I
it
won't.
goes.
I'll withhold judgment until then.
Yeah.
Until we
I
see
mean,
what they do with that.
again, this is Max's opportunity to make us look like idiots. So we'll see how it goes.
That's a normal thing for me anyway.
He
So
insists that's viable, and I intend to give him the benefit of the doubt.
how charitable.
Weaponry. So this is the big hotfix spec. Weaponry before the hotfix had all kinds of restrictions on it that were promptly removed upon thinking and arguing and
Everyone's
stuff.
screaming at them. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot to cover here. I don't think we're going to read all of it, but basically the way it works now is your weapons have ranks, and the only important ranks are A and S because that's as a weapon respect, those are the only weapons you're going
Yeah.
to be
No one's gonna
wielding.
run anything else. So
Um, so A rank weapons still get three abilities. The abilities for those weapons and armors, whatever, have base power of 75, and I don't believe they can scale, which is
yeah,
fine.
I think that was clarified that they cannot
Yeah.
scale
Um,
whatsoever. So
Now the big change is that weapons are brought back to 150 sharpness and 150 health for
you can
weapon
fuck people up
specs.
with that. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah, that's like considering that they've now put more definitions on weaponry abilities and they've upped the price by like 3,000 Ryo. This
hmm
is
hmm
okay by me.
The important thing that they did was that they removed in the hotfix that they had weapon abilities taking up jutsu slots for a time, and the fact that they removed that,
Yeah,
that's very, very, that was important. That was like a huge like anchor to this entire patch, to be honest, like dragging it down.
I didn't like
But
that that weapons took jutsu slots.
it is kind of annoying. I guess it's kind of annoying that only legendary weapons can be S rank. That being said, it gives them more of an identity, I suppose.
I mean, if you look at the stats, S rank weapons have a base power of 150, so I ain't
Yeah,
complaining.
yeah, obviously, but I guess it makes legendary weapons a lot more desirable.
It makes them extremely desirable. I'd love a
Yeah,
base power 150 barrier or some other ability on a weapon.
who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
So, same goes for weapons, armor, and then items, but items don't require weaponry specialty. Oh, wait, no, they do.
Correct. Oh, that's a big change.
A character with the weaponry spec can have a rank item with higher health and two abilities. So, for some strange reason, items now require weaponry specialty to have more stuff on them, but I don't think that's really going to matter.
Yeah, it's
Like,
that's kind of a weird change, but whatever.
like
Uh,
so the examples they give are food pills and bandages, which are consumables which nobody uses except for maybe, tack.
I'm thinking I might use consumables. I think consumables. That's the future. That's the future right there.
You think so? I mean, it's true. They don't need very high health to do this. So you can add some like really cheap ones, then pay
Hmm.
2,000 Ryo for a really powerful ability, or I believe in this case two really powerful abilities, and it's like
It appears so. Yeah.
take a Snickers in the middle of combat, get a big buff or something.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, definitely good here.
let's see. But yeah, other than that, like the average, tattoo, the average ring, like nobody's going to be using these en masse anymore because they don't give stats, but people will still use them, right? Like, sell me on this. Are,
Mm.
are people still going to be
And
using
also,
items?
well, they're going to use items probably if the weaponry spec. But honestly, I feel like abilities, if you're not weaponry spec, are just kind of pretty bad. Like, because all these ones they have power of these abilities are reduced by 20. You're allowed one less ability if you don't have weaponry spec. It just feels like,
I mean, before you were allowed two fewer abilities instead of one, so this
yeah,
is an
yeah,
improvement.
it's an improvement, but it's still just feels really. I guess it makes sense why they. Uh, I don't think people will be using a whole lot of weaponry if they don't have weaponry specs anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, one way or the other, weaponry got a huge buff.
True enough. True enough. It's
uh,
quite large. It's quite large.
yeah. So this is one of the two physical specs on the site, and it got massively improved. We'll see below that the same applies to Taijutsu as well when we get there. But next up is space time.
Space time. Yes.
Do you have a
So
character with space time, or
I do have a character with space time.
okay? So
Asami has space time. It was very sad for me because I had centered my entire build on RT teleports, and now that RT teleports are no longer a thing, my entire build is screwed.
oh
Um,
no,
it's very sad. So I'm kind of in a bad spot there now. But oh
right,
well.
right. So here's my take on this. Right, there are there is no wording in the rules that allows a jutsu to hit at your strength stat. However, S rank taijutsu are allowed to hit at your strength stat because it is the equivalent of your chakra stat, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we did the same for speed? Like we apped a taijutsu space time, like dodge, teleport, kind of King Crimson sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we made the teleport go at your speed stat instead.
I feel like that would be amazing, but I also feel like staff would just like shut that down real quick.
Well, I mean, speed is subject to the same numbers as chakra, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, come to think of it, I guess I run space time on my Hoshi character too. So
Yeah.
um,
I don't know.
I,
Someone would have
I
to
love
app
space
it.
time. Space time's a great specialty, I think, in
Yeah.
general.
Surprisingly, there aren't outside of that. There aren't that many changes other than dimensions now require space time primary specialty. Big deal, right?
Which yeah, oh well. I guess there's the phasing. Like you have to start at a certain point
Oh,
on your
that's
body, I
true.
guess, to phase,
Yeah.
which I don't think is super huge, but who knows? Obviously situationally it will be very large if you're like someone's aiming for your arm and for some reason you're like, oh, I guess I'll phase on my foot.
Right.
But that would be if you're like retarded or something.
Now, again, to support my point, techniques that have more than one specialty scale off the
Hmm.
stats of the first specialty listed. So if you list
And
taijutsu or weaponry first, I think you could just have the phasing spreading go at your speed stat. Which
I feel like in theory you're correct, but I feel like in practice you will get shut down.
well, like here's the thing, right? In practice, if I am not correct, that makes
Hmm.
that makes space time on physical builds a little incompatible, which is disturbing. Spell
It's be very sad
combos,
because
yeah, spell
once again
combos
my build will be destroyed.
should just work. See the way I have it, right? You can combine almost any variety of specialties and have it be a build that you can play. Have it be at minimum viable, which I think is a must-have for the site, right?
Correct. I agree
Yeah.
entirely.
So we'll see. That's just my little cheese, my little pseudo loophole, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hopefully it sticks around because I think it's cool. But I guess that's that for space time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's basically just extra restrictions.
yeah. The whole chakra power thing on teleportation is a bit of a buzzkill. I'll be real. Super big buzzkill for me. But
Yeah.
I see why they did it. But it's annoying.
Okay, so here's the big one: taijutsu and damage reduction.
Taijutsu.
Check these two together because they kind of stick with each other. So taijutsu,
Hmm.
I don't like what they did with the patch here. Is that they copy pasted a section from the rules, but that's just a pet peeve.
Mm.
So taijutsu techniques now all give you damage reduction.
Yeah, but they give you a base damage reduction. Uh, it doesn't have, or it doesn't create a halving effect when you have something else up with it, right?
Well, something else with it that's
And a
also
DR.
taijutsu, right? Or no,
Yeah.
a taijutsu based DR effect and a non taijutsu DR effect will both have full power. So as long as both of
Correct.
your DR effects, well, hold on. Okay, to
If
clarify,
one DR's it,
yeah, if one DR effect is
go ahead.
taijutsu, then neither will have, but you can still only have two at maximum.
Correct.
So, taijutsu build runs gates, right? Gates is
Uh,
going to be giving you 70 DR.
it's
What does
going to
it
be
say?
very
Yeah,
nice.
seventh gate gives 100 DR, and then like 100 speed, 100 strength, right? And then you do something
Yeah.
like. See, here's the thing. Gates currently gives DR as a quote unquote substat buff, but that's going to be changing soon. Let me tell you.
Sad times.
um,
Um,
and then as like an S rank taijutsu, maybe plus 70 strength, 70 speed, and 70 DR. Those two stack, giving you a total of 140 DR while you're in gates doing this big old punch. And
hmm.
I think this is the buff that taijutsu needed.
I agree entirely. Now that I run a taijutsu character, it's super nice. Um, it gives them survivability in the face of like running at chakra techniques. You're honest. All right, you'll probably still get blown up by like the strongest techniques,
Yeah,
but it gives you like the lower ones and mid tier. You'll be doing fine.
yeah. This is pretty cool. Uh, Taijutsu is also, I believe, due to gates, the easiest specialty to hit 300 power, and also due to the fact that they, like weaponry, have maneuvers.
Indeed.
Yeah, so things like, Everlasting Extinction, which gives 100 to speed and strength instead of 70 to speed and strength. So you start out
Hmm.
at 100 speed, 100 strength base, and then you add 100 speed, 100 strength from your gates, and then 100 speed, 100
Yep.
strength for your S-rank maneuver, and you're at 300 without any need for substats from your bloodline or even main stats from your bloodline.
Easy peasy. AK's broken. You heard it here first, guys.
I know I've broken. The drawbacks for both that enhancer and for the maneuver are pretty significant. But
Uh,
it's pretty good. Um,
it's strong. It's strong.
yeah.
Uh,
So I think we've entered the age of the physical specialties.
I hope so. I don't know if people will be able to RP it well because I know people are very used to just like sitting back, shooting their fireballs,
Right,
all
right.
that good stuff.
But for the people who can role play well, who can, do their tactics, this is
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
this is their time. Get in now. Win your fights now. So barriers.
Barriers. This is a kind of a weird one to me. I see why they did it. I think it's a decent change. It's debuffs. So that you can't move now if your barrier does anything more than take the hit for you. Which,
This is fine. People were already having this
yeah,
restriction on it. Like even Psychosis had this restriction on his barrier too.
psychosis.
Yeah, I'm
That
serious.
guy.
He
That guy.
had he had a barrier cell that he activated, but he couldn't move while he was using it.
But then you had things like I think Kenshin had his like burn you alive acid field, and then he could like just jump at you and you just explode.
What
But now, in theory, he can't move, right?
Right. What I don't like is the definition of a barrier that they have here, and
That's in the hotfix, right?
yeah, it's in the hotfix where they redefine what a barrier was. They tried. I'll give them that. Their heart's in the right place. But
Chalk
the
Cluster.
specific wording that I had a problem with is that whose main protection is to protect, or whose main purpose is to protect the user from harm. Um, and then they wrote Susano wasn't a barrier. So
Mm,
this means that barriers that have like actively, offensive capabilities are not technically barriers. And of course,
mhm,
what this does is it enables players to argue any kind of bullshit with the moderators whenever they have
mhm.
offensive type barriers. I'd like a little more definition on this. What do you think?
I agree, though. I think that staff could argue that they could use like their phrase here. If you have a barrier and said barrier has any effects aside from simply taking the hit for you or preventing you from being targeted by stat checks and debuffs, then you are unable to move active. I feel like they could argue that if it's like an offensive barrier, that you can't move.
Hmm. Well, here's the other thing, right? Maybe this does actually hold true for Susano. But
Hmm.
here's the thing: when you reach EMS and you do, the big ol' Susano, that thing moves for you. So he's not
Mm.
moving, but the thing is moving you. If you get what I mean.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha.
So I guess it's still kind of valid.
We'll see how that works out.
Let's see. High rank
Next
character
up,
apps. This is not a big deal. They put more restrictions on them, and
yeah,
I
it's
that's
yeah,
we can we can
it's
both agree
whatever.
that's good.
It's
Yeah.
whatever. I made my Hoshi character with these rules actually, and I'm doing
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. They did open the slots to missing Nin, which I guess is okay.
Yep,
Personally,
yep.
like this is toxic Kozai leaking through, but I'm not a huge fan of missing Nin groups, mostly because it
Uh,
enables like people join the site, right, and they're like, oh man, I want to run around to all the villages and roleplay with my friends in real life, wherever they might be
hmm
joining, and I'm like, yay, but that's not how it really works, right?
hmm.
It's whatever though. That's just me being petty about
Typical Kozai. All right.
it.
Jumping and swimming. They've changed jumping and swimming from their weird esoteric equations
Right.
to just speed. I guess that's a decent change. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's whatever. No one's gonna jump.
I
No
think
one's gonna
it's
swim.
well, okay. No one's going to be jumping, right? But swimming, you could
Uh,
you can argue that there are builds that can do that.
yeah.
There are
I'm
techs,
kind of bummed.
huh?
I'm kind of bummed that strength kind of gets the shaft here. I
I
feel like you
mean,
can make
I'd say that strength is valuable. If you look up at the
yes,
two specs that scale with
it's
strength.
valuable. It's valuable, but if you're jumping, I feel like jumping should be your strength stat.
I guess.
Um, but obviously, no one's gonna jump, so it doesn't. I don't really care that much. So it's not a huge change, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean there are techniques that make giant bubbles of water, so swimming might be relevant for
Yeah,
players.
yeah.
Second opinions. Again,
Oh,
I
okay.
I don't
Start the rage. Start the rage.
I
Go for it.
don't like these rules. Um, I've explained this like 3 times already, but it makes the assumption that all moderators deserve the total respect and attention of their members, that they at least deserve a chance. And cynical Kozai says no, they don't. um, I mean, people say that's kind of a minor complaint because all you have to do is try and work with them for one post and then you request your second opinion. But I still think that's a waste of time for the member because I make a lot of apps. I know how long it takes for the mods to get back to me sometimes, even after one post. And to make things more efficient for the members, I just rather that they be able to do the second opinion right away. The let's see. Mods aren't.
Where's the fire? Where's the rage?
Oh
I'm feeling
no,
let down here.
we're in a podcast. We're in a voice chat. I
I'm
can't. I
I'm
don't.
disappointed.
I
I'm
just.
disappointed.
I just ran
My
out of
opinion on
steam.
this, my opinion, my second opinion on the second opinion
Oh no.
is that it doesn't matter. I've never run into any issues with opinion, uh, except for when Maku fucked me. That was sad. Um, but otherwise, I don't care. It's second opinions, whatever. Staff is staff is staff. And honestly, staff usually talks about their modding choices. So 9 times out of 10, staff will just support what the other staff members said, unless they haven't talked about it.
I mean, I just experienced the contrary to that recently.
Oh, really? Well, then they're
Yeah,
probably not communicating well. I don't know what that tells you
the
about the
first
staff
moderator,
communication level.
the first moderator tried to shut down one of the mechanics in my technique entirely. And when I instantly
Hmm.
requested a second opinion, the other moderator was like, "Okay, sure, you can have this. Let me work with you on it." And I'm like, "Wow,
Mm-hmm,
thanks.
mm-hmm.
Why couldn't the first mod have done that?" And I don't know. I also
Yeah,
feel like there are
who
times
knows?
when the mod is going to request something completely something that the member does not want to part with at all, and then
Mm-hmm,
how are they going to work with each other to qualify for a second opinion?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think our differing opinions just deal with the fact that we have two very different relationships with staff throughout our entire time on the site. So
Yeah, I
that's
guess.
that's just that. It's the way
Yeah,
it is.
so I guess we'll see how it turns out, but I am
Yeah, yeah.
skeptical. The following amendments. So here are we'll just look at the hot fixes again, right? Teleportation abilities on A ranks, follow the A rank numbers, so on and so forth. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we talked about
So
most,
yeah,
pretty
so
much.
that's about it. What a giant patch,
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ. So people have said that this is actually the real V7, and I don't really care. V6, V7 doesn't matter to me. These are mostly good changes.
I'd say a solid 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is a pretty good patch. I am you know
Yeah.
I'm not as skeptical as I was before, but you know we'll see what else they come up with in the future, right? This covers a lot of
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
issues, and uh, I mean,
I suppose on that point, should we talk about what we want them to look at or what we think they should look at in the coming
oh
patches?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Might be a good idea.
Okay, I guess I'll start. What I
Go
want to
ahead.
see for next time would be a buff to puppetry.
A buff puppetry.
A
Okay,
buff to
okay, that's
puppetry.
fair.
Yeah,
That's
it
fair.
got axed during this patch, and I like a buff to
Mm-hmm.
puppetry. Um, Other stuff I would like to see. Let me think. Um, I'd like to see. This might not happen now because Taijutsu just got buffed, but I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
see a different kind of app called like styles or methods or something like that for physical specs. You
Yep,
know,
I'm actually doing that for my Taijutsu character. I'm using the skills for it to make like fighting styles and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
It's gonna be awesome.
right. But what I was thinking was that they would be something separate from skills.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's kind of what I
It'd be
want.
like Taijutsu main spec only or something. That'd be pretty. That'd be pretty cool.
And now, the other thing I would like personally would be Renegon and Tenseigan. I believe now is the time to make them and to make them balanced.
See, I guess I'd be fine with it. I would never actually pursue them myself, but I guess it'd be a cool thing to have on the site.
Right. And see,
Keep people
that's why
moving towards it.
that's why I think it's not really a problem that to introduce them because people say, oh, once they're on the site, everybody's gonna chase them. No, that's not the reality of it. Just
Hmm.
because they were cool in canon doesn't
And
mean
they take time to get. They take so much time to.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah, they take time, they take some hunting, and uh, and if you balance them right, they will take real, like, genuine effort and probably a lot of risk.
well, one would hope. One would hope, but
Yeah.
I could see that being a thing. I don't think that's necessarily like a must do. Like, don't do like if you don't do this,
Right.
site's over,
The
game over,
other
man.
the other big thing I would like would be a bunch of the techniques on the banned list to be, reapt, modernized, and moved off because some of them
Hmm.
are on there for literally no reason at all.
True enough. True enough.
And
Bring back
then,
water sky conversions,
well, no, no,
please.
like that's my next point. We already have things like what was it, Nativity of a World of Trees, whatever it was, the
Yep.
wood,
The
the
the,
wood
the, the free
release, free
manipulation,
manipulation.
will
Right,
of
right.
trees or whatever.
Now
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that has a duration, that has a cooldown. Let's bring
Yep.
in more
Yep.
text like that. Now that could be a mistake, but
I mean, it could, or it'd
yeah,
be really awesome. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. I'd at least like to see them try it out. What about you,
Hmm.
Gary?
I don't actually have a whole lot that I want to see the site do. I suppose staff was talking about events for a while, and I'd like to see some solid events. Not necessarily legendary or Biju fights.
Yeah, because those have been
Uh,
the only two big events that we've had,
yeah,
rotate in
yeah,
and out for a while.
but those are so boring and they're overdone. I don't know if that's something that can actually be
Yeah,
done,
and
but I'd love to see it.
they're only really accessible to a certain population of the site that have the means for that.
I know, and and it just like feels bad. Like sometimes you're just like, I really want to speed you, but I'm a Genin or a Chunin, but there are these people who have been here for years, and they have like this S rank character who can just easily one shot a Biju.
Right now,
Um,
before Bijou were kind of weak, and the moderators who roleplayed them didn't roleplay them to their full capability. So
mhm.
Genin could beat, and they did beat Bijou. But now that I'm sorry, now that Bijou have been, powered up somewhat, and now that the
Yeah, like
moderators will
there's probably
probably,
no chance.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Mars probably won't be as merciful this time around either. Although
one would hope.
looking at the staff list, I maybe only two or three of the staff here
I
would be able to roleplay a Bijou. Like
I would assume. Yeah, no.
I'm not saying they're incompetent. I'm saying that, you know,
You would never say that. You would
I'm saying that maybe
ever.
only a few of them would have the confidence to roleplay the tail beast involved.
Yeah, I think at that point you bring in like quote unquote like guest RPers who
Oh, that's
can take
true.
over.
I forgot they did that
Yeah.
last time. So like Andy, Ash. Oh,
Hmm.
you remember that
Hmm.
one time Viper came back and actually roleplayed the Six Tails?
And just like blasted that one guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was pretty funny.
People have made fun of him for so long for being like absolute garbage at roleplay, and he comes back and he beats someone. I was like, well, that's a great exit. Okay,
Uh,
so I guess
um,
that's. Do you have anything else?
no, I haven't really thought too much about what I think the site needs to do.
Do
I
you
don't
think?
know if there's any.
Are you
Go ahead.
happy with the state the site is currently in?
Honestly, I'm always pretty happy with the state of the site. I roll with the punches, man. I'm not
Ah,
super uppity about my systems.
right, right. I mean, other than petty personal shit, right? I think the site's in a
Hmm.
great spot, and I'm happy to be here.
I think so too. I agree entirely.
Yeah, this is another golden age for NRPG as far as systems
Whoa.
go.
Let's not get that far just yet. Let's see how this plays out. I'd say we're definitely like we're in
Yeah,
silver at least.
yeah. We'll see if people break Genjutsu and weaponry yet.
Yeah, no, it could be very bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Although, like with the systems we have now, I feel like if people do try to break Genjutsu weaponry, it's going to be an issue with like the individual apps themselves and not the system itself.
hmm I think the big thing going forward will be staff consistency, which is something the site has always struggled with.
Yeah.
Like who knows, in a month, like
Oh,
Kenshin
that's
could
right.
just like leave, Jace could leave,
Yeah.
and then everything's to shit again. You know, that's
Yeah.
just the way it goes.
Now
Um,
that's actually the really big issue that I have with this patch. When at the time of its release, was that when I talked to some of the moderators about it, they had no clue about certain changes in the patch or about certain aspects to
yeah.
it. Now back in old man Kozar talking again. Back in my day when I was on staff, Yusei had all of us go over the patch several times. Each change
Hmm.
that was released, each limited or banned technique that I revamped had to go through several waves of review by multiple staff members. And
Hmm.
I get
Hmm.
the impression that they're not doing that with these patches.
I agree. I think
Like,
the most important thing about staff.
what?
All right, speaking as longtime staff member, shadow staff member, etc., cabal member. The most important thing about being in that is communication, both with staff and the site. Um, I think that's like you could say like balance is obviously a very large portion of it, but if you can't explain why you're doing change or why it needs to happen, you look like a complete idiot. Like you don't know what you're doing if you can't explain it.
Right.
Um, and I think it's questionable if every staff member has been on board with all of these changes. Like I suspect only 2 or 3 people were actually making these changes,
Yeah.
but maybe that's just me.
What I suspect they're doing is they're assigning these as like projects and modules to people to work on, and they combine them together in one
Yeah,
patch,
yeah.
review it over maybe once, and then releasing it. And I don't. I think it needs more review, more protocol, right? If I was in Jason's position, I would institute like a multi-step process for each patch that gets released.
Hmm, hmm.
But that's just me. Maybe it's too strict, maybe it's too austere. What do I know, right?
Absolutely nothing, Jose. Absolutely
uh,
nothing.
all right. Well, this was a decent patch.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I have no complaints. Well, besides the complaints that I voiced before.
yeah.
Um, Otherwise, I think that's about it. Do you have any last minute shout outs to any
I'll shout out.
adoring fans?
I'll shout out the same people that our beloved admin did. Shout outs to Andy for designing. I remember back in the day he designed the base for the weaponry and genjutsu changes that just got released. Amazing,
Hmm.
brilliant work. Thank you very much. Um, shout outs to the mods for getting us together. At the very minimum, anyway.
True.
Hopefully next time, the mods will be able to have a little bit more cohesion on this. But all in
Hmm,
all, this
hmm.
wasn't too bad. Um, Shout outs to Will for spotting some things. I know, like a few seconds after the patch was released, he and I were talking with Kenshin over some of the stuff here.
Hmm, hmm.
So shout outs to him as well.
Is Kenshin secretly the admin on this staff team?
I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think he's like the man on staff. I think he is extremely capable, and
I agree. I
and
agree.
arguably
No
has
shade intended towards anyone else.
yeah. I think he has the most experience out of all of them.
Indeed, indeed. I suppose my last shout out will be to Ash. He recently started his career at Tata Steel. He's
Oh
been promoted
no!
to a foreman. So please congratulate him whenever you see him. Tata Steel foreman. He's doing
Praise Tata.
indeed.
All right, well that's that, everybody. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you when the next patch inevitably drops.
Thanks a bunch, guys. It's been fun.